not only with our officers from Montgomery Police Department, but also for those that are living in those spaces and around those spaces where things like this are happening around innocent people. We have to make sure that this violence stops, and we have to do whatever we can and whatever we need to do to eliminate it. Seeing this scene is tough, as they always are, but again, talking to innocent people is the most problematic part of that, along with those lives that were lost. Every time we have a crime, there is a sense of hurt and a sense of trauma for real people who are doing their jobs or who are just trying to get by from day to day. That's what motivates us to try to find better ideas, better approaches to reduce and eliminate this senseless violence. We have to focus more on conflict resolution and de-escalation of these issues, whether it be because of social media or whether it be because of illicit activity. None of these things should generate a homicide in our city. In another situation, you had two young people involved in a fight regarding a relationship. One, again, that totally avoidable, something that should not have happened, but choices and decisions that people made, maybe not intending to lead to a death of one person, did just that. Again, we have to think about the humanity. We have to think about the impact that words and actions may have. And we have to learn how to walk away. We have to learn how to turn the other cheek and learn how to just move on, because too many of these situations are escalating into deadly activities and deadly outcomes. And I think that we've got to do better all across this community. I want to thank all of our organizations and all of our nonprofit leaders and grassroots leaders and just people day to day who are teaching character, who are teaching conflict resolution, who are teaching to let cooler heads prevail. But we need more of that. And some of that comes back to the individual. Some of that comes back to the things that we allow to get to us versus the things that we should brush off. The Montgomery Police Department is investigating all of these crimes that I just mentioned. Chief Grayboys and his officers have been working around the clock to track down those responsible and to make sure that justice is brought for the victims and their families. They're not alone in this work. The Montgomery County Sheriff's Office has been helping, as well as the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency is also stepping up to help us pursue this justice that so many are looking for. But the police can't do this work alone. Each individual, the community as a whole, has to be a part of this solution. We have to make sure that we are letting the authorities know ahead of time when you sense something, when you have a feeling about something. We also have to make sure that as business owners, people aren't cutting corners. People aren't doing things just for a cheap buck that puts the lives of innocent people in danger. We have to make sure that from the standpoint of a community such as ours, that we're doing each and everything we can to be kind to our neighbor and to make sure that we understand that from time to time people are going through things that aren't worth us getting engaged in, that may escalate something from a disagreement or a dispute to something more violent, and certainly something that has a more permanent outcome. The future of our community depends on this, and we have to make sure that we're choosing another way other than just settling these arguments with violence. So I'm asking every person in our city to look for peaceful resolutions to these issues, to look for peaceful outcomes, and again, understand when it's okay to just walk away. Understand when it's okay to just let a situation on its own handle itself and work itself out. Now, with this, we'll continue to do the work that we've been doing, and we'll continue to partner with the organizations and leaders who have been helping us reduce crime throughout this year. And while we've seen a recent uptick over the last several days, we know that's not indicative of the crime trends that we've seen overall in this city. And we're going to continue to focus on all of these issues that impact people so that everyone, regardless of where they live in the city of Montgomery, can have a great opportunity to go to work, to come home, to see their friends, to see their families, and enjoy them in peace. And that's what we really want to make sure we convey to our community. So with that said, I'm going to ask Chief Grayboys to give us some comments on where the investigations stand so far. And if you have any questions for me after Chief Grayboys' statements, I'll take those at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I prepared some statements that I want to make in relation to the events of this weekend, but I want to let people know how committed we are to our mission of keeping people safe. And we will never rest or stop until we, of course, make sure we hold people accountable. But there's a lot of things I want to talk about and unpack here. So I want to extend my deepest condolences to the families of the individuals whose lives were lost this past weekend. As I have often said, one homicide is too many, and our police department will take each act of violence in our community seriously with zero tolerance. Over the course of this weekend, tragically, we responded to 4 incidents that resulted in 5 deaths that required criminal investigation. I'm going to discuss these events and provide both updates and context to keep our community informed. I want to unequivocally state that the investigators have been working tirelessly on each case since inception. We have learned the following in the investigations of these cases. And what I'm about to talk about is heartbreaking because it means that people could have walked away. People could have decided to turn the other cheek or decided to back down, so to speak. 3 of these incidents involved domestic relationships, and all 4 involved interpersonal relationships. These cases are very specific to the people involved. I want to reassure the citizens of Montgomery that we have strong leads in these cases. Suspects will be charged, held accountable, and they will face justice in a court of law. I'm going to talk a little bit about each specific incident as we encountered them, starting from Friday morning through the weekend. On Friday morning at 1:30 a.m., we responded to 1700 block of West Haven Lane and had to begin a homicide investigation related to victim Fidel Sanders, age 30. He had sustained fatal injuries from a gunshot wound, and he was pronounced deceased at the scene. We have good leads in this case. We know that this case could be related possibly to relationships he had. We will not start pursuing the leads that we have until we have a suspect in custody that we will charge. The second incident was a homicide investigation that began at 3100 block of Virginia Loop Road. This was at September 20th at 4 a.m. Units responded to that address, and they found victim Tamiko Coleman, age 50. She had sustained fatal injuries from blunt force trauma and was pronounced deceased at the scene. We are pursuing a very strong lead in this case as well. And anybody involved in this particular case is going to be held accountable, and I anticipate results very soon. Also on Saturday, we had a death investigation in the 5100 block of Carmichael Road. At 7:40 p.m., units responded to this address where they found victim Anthony Davis, age 37, and victim Prentice Parks, age 44, who had sustained fatal injuries to gunshot wounds and were pronounced deceased at the scene. This case also found a third subject who I will not name, who was injured and fortunately did not have life-threatening injuries with them. This case, though, is self-contained. There are no other individuals involved in this case. There are no outstanding suspects. We are investigating this case to its fullest to make sure that it is appropriately handled and the appropriate outcomes in the interest of justice take place. The fourth incident is a homicide investigation that began at 3200 Raintree Drive on September 21st at 2:11 a.m. Units responded and found Amari Capleton, age 19, who was deceased from stab wounds. There was an additional female victim reported in this who had also received some cuts. This case, like the last one, is self-contained. There are no outstanding suspects in this case, and we are pursuing everything we need to pursue to ensure that the proper outcomes in the interest of justice are pursued in a court of law. Be aware we will make more announcements in relation to these cases in the near future as things become available to us. But the one key incident or key factor in all these cases was the relationships that individuals had with each other leading to these outcomes. We are going to actively investigate every case that comes before us. And I do want to encourage the community to cooperate with us. Anybody with information, contact our agency or contact Crime Stoppers. Basically, these incidents are tragic. Once somebody dies they don't come back. And then tragically, the person who might have acted out of an impulse, a fit of anger or rage, well, now they face criminal prosecution, and their lives are forever changed as well. Community partnerships, people working with us, help us try to prevent that. Maybe they can help prevent it by basically the way they interact with the people they love and care about, to maybe prevent them or help them learn to walk away. I want to once again emphasize that the Montgomery Police Department will never view violence in our community as acceptable or inevitable. These incidents were unique to the people involved in them. They highlight the importance of resolving conflicts without resorting to violence. And I'm going to take this moment because I want to call on the community, get involved with the people in your life. Be the voice of reason when one of your friends is telling you, hey, give me a ride because I want to go here and do such and such. Be the person who says, no, I will not do that. Be the voice of reason when somebody's coming home with weapons or things that they shouldn't be having. Call us. Let us know. Become involved in the lives of the people you care about, because if we get involved because of it's an investigation, somebody is going to jail and somebody has been badly hurt. So get involved with your people, the people you love and care about. Do not hesitate to talk to them. Now, I'm proud of my agency. We have made a lot of progress over the last 12 months. We're going to keep making progress, but occasionally things do happen like what we've just discussed here. And one thing people need to understand, the men and women of this department are committed unequivocally and resolutely to do everything in their power to hold people accountable who commit crimes and violent actions in the city. So I call upon people in the community and with family members who might be on the edge of committing something wrong to start stepping into their lives and pulling them back from that edge. Because when we have to deal with them, we have to deal with them in the interest of justice, and we will not stop on that. If anybody has any information in relation to these cases, I encourage them to call Crime Stoppers at 215-STOP, Secret Witness at 625-4000, or the Montgomery Police Department at 625-2831. Together, we can prevent further tragedies, and we can make Montgomery a safer place every day. Thank you. I believe we'll open it up for questions. Yes, sir.
Well, I think anytime you're on a crime scene and you see what our men and women, the police department are doing each and every day, it brings it home a lot more in terms of just what that human impact is, not only on those that are directly impacted, those that are indirectly impacted, those people that are nearby in their homes, nearby in their businesses, whatever it may be. I think, for us, it's a matter of making sure that not only we have a better understanding of what's happened, but why it happened and how to prevent it from happening next time. That's why I mentioned some of the business owners have some responsibility here. Some of the landlords have some responsibility here, as well as some of the parties that Chief mentioned. Those that are around these situations have some responsibility here. And I think anytime we're on the scene, it's more so, one, to make sure that we have a good grasp of what's taking place. Also to, again, thank our law enforcement professionals for what they do. And also, again, just to reassure the community that each and every incident like this is going to be taken seriously, regardless of what the circumstances may be.
Yes, sir. Well, the thing about it is the big common denominator, the largest common denominator is the actual conflict resolution. It is the idea of making sure that people understand that they can walk away, that every slight does not necessarily require a violent response, that every relationship, when it's time to end, maybe if somebody doesn't want you anymore, you walk away. Or maybe, if you are upset about something, the best thing to do is to walk away. I mean, it's really simple advice, but I can tell you, before I became the police chief here, long ago, I used to work at Alabama State University. And when I worked there, one program I used to participate was in what was called the pre-release program at some of the local correctional institutes. And I would talk to some of the inmates there. And one of the key things I learned about doing that, which was really interesting, because I would talk to them about conflict resolution. I would talk to them about the fact that, hey, just because your ex is outside the door banging on it doesn't mean you have to actually open it. You can call the police. And it was obvious to me that a lot of these people who were in prison had never thought of that idea before. People need to start thinking about these simple ideas, because ideas are tools. You don't have to open the door because your ex is outside screaming at you. You don't have to answer the phone because your ex is trying to call you. If somebody's bothering you, you can sign warrants on them. You can call the police. If you're mad at somebody, really mad, or you think, let's say your boyfriend has a new girlfriend, you don't actually have to drive over there to find out. You can break up. Basically, people need to start thinking along these lines, and the people who love the folks who don't necessarily have those ideas need to start telling these ideas to them, teaching them. And at the same time, if you know somebody who, let's say, might be on the edge of doing something major, well, if they're doing something minor, call us then. Let us arrest them for a misdemeanor. Or if they have a gun that they shouldn't have, call us, let us collect the gun, because now suddenly you've changed the whole equation before something bad took place. People have got to be observant and be involved in their loved ones' lives. While I can't give you the specific details related to how we utilize technology beyond what we typically do in a press release, I can tell you that we are utilizing the most current police technology in working these particular cases. And of course, we're also utilizing the old standard or true, which is basically hard work and long hours.
Politics aside, with these interpersonal relationships, and this is for both of you all, if you can, just talk about, usually in these situations, there are certain organizations that you work with that you have that tool in your toolbox. We know grants have been cut, so when you call those people, there are fewer people who, have social workers or people on the phone who can talk to domestic violence victims, give them some advice about what to do. How concerned are you that those tools in your toolbox are no longer there?
Well, listen, I think anytime you have community partners who've been doing this work on the front end, that's something that not only we need, it's something that we highlight. It's something that we desperately need. Not having, the breadth of support for some of them is troubling. And I think we have to try to find different ways to support them so that they can support the community and fill those gaps that government can. But we want to make sure that, for all those organizations that are out there, that we help them any way we can. And we know that all of them, whether they're focused on domestic violence, whether they're focused on substance abuse, or whether they're focused on just community violence intervention, are doing the best they can with what they have. It's up to us to try to make sure we can do our part and be creative to fill in those funding gaps that have been cut, that have been slashed over the last year or so. It's also up to the community, to step up and help us in that endeavor as well. It's going to take all of us to, again, I think, reduce these incidents of violence that we have in our community, in particular where interpersonal relationships are so key, because somebody knows something usually before it happens. Maybe they don't think somebody will go through with it. Maybe they don't think somebody will stand behind their words. But, what we're seeing is far too often that's the case, and far too often they're preventable. So between the organizations and the community and what MPD is trying to do each and every day, we have to continue to just keep our heads down, do the work, and continue to try to have that impact regardless of the type of funding or regardless of the type of support that we currently have.
Yes, sir. Also, to add to what the mayor is talking about, we in Montgomery are lucky because we do have some very good organizations, and I'm going to make mention of them at this point because it actually stands to some of the other questions people have asked about what people in the community can do. We have the Family Guidance Center. We have the Family Justice Center. We have Vocal. These organizations alone, and there's more. And in fact, actually, I will ask my PIO to get some of the contact information so you can post them. I think some of y'all have them, so I would ask you to post them on your stories on the web, because one of the key things I would say is, as I said earlier about family members, people getting involved, one of the key things, the key gap you would have here really is you have organizations that want to help people. You have law enforcement agency, you have the city administration. We're all in on this, okay? But that missing piece is people in the community or family members who, when they know there's an issue, contact these organizations, contact these groups that will reach out to help, because they help with so many things. They can help people with finding new locations. They can help people with legal issues because, domestic relationships sometimes encompass a lot of legal issues. So I would ask y'all to make sure we get that information posted so members of the community, when they see these situations arising, can start making the phone calls to getting people involved and getting services to folks and getting us involved as we can, to be preventative rather than us having to be reactive.
Mayor, I know community violence intervention, conflict resolution has been a big emphasis for you for a while now. Is there anything new initiative-wise that we would expect, whether that be for you or city council, or anything that you've been talking about?
Well, I think for us is to make sure we continue to fund those initiatives. As some of the grant dollars from the American Rescue Plan Act runs out, we want to make sure we continue to fund those and we expand them. We're expanding the Office of Violence Prevention. We look to make a greater impact with our CVI team, our Community Violence Intervention team, as well, hospital-based violence intervention programs, and then trying to make sure we're working not only with our schools and our churches and houses of worship, but also with our grassroots and community leaders and other organizations. So we want to continue to evolve and adapt to where things are and to make sure that we're reaching people with those that they're going to listen to. Doesn't make a lot of sense if we're just yelling at the wall. We've got to make sure that we're going where people are, we're talking to them in a way that they can relate to, and we're listening to them in a way that we can relate to. It takes both in order to do that, and I think just getting people out of the habit of going to the extreme when it comes to how they respond to a certain issue. And, these things take time. It didn't happen overnight. It won't be solved overnight, but it does get better if we continue to focus on it and work at it. All right. Thank y'all very much. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.